Hello everybody, welcome back. We are here for our second set review for Bloomburrow. Today we're going to be going over every single blue card and giving it a rating between 1 and 10. We've got Yanks on the call. Welcome back, Yanks.
Time for my color.
Yeah. For those guys who missed our introduction, make sure you guys go back and check it out because that is where we did the new mechanics, returning mechanics, and draftable archetypes. That's going to help you with the evaluations for these cards. And then make sure you come back. We got all the colors. So let's go ahead and jump straight into blue. As Yanks said, Yanks' color. We're going to start with the Azure Beast Binder, 2 mana for a 1/3 with Vigilance. It can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or greater. When it attacks, up to one target artifact, creature, or planeswalker in opponent control loses all abilities until your next turn. If it's a creature, it also has base power and toughness 2/2. Wow, that seems crazy.
So they basically need to have multiple 1-power creatures to block this.
Yeah, or like a combat trick to pump it, you know what I mean? Like you can block with your 1/1 and then give it +2/+2.
Oh, sure, yeah. I meant if they only have one, you can just turn it into a 2/2 when you attack and it can't block it.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to do that if they had something else like a 3/3 flyer or whatever that's like I'd rather stop from cracking me back.
Sure.
I would probably run the risk of the combat trick more often than not in that situation to gain the advantage in the board state in general. Just by turning their biggest thing into an idiot. Yeah, this is an interesting card. It's going to make the play patterns quite complicated. It's going to make dealing with this difficult. I think it's really cool. I don't think it's an insane bomb, but I think it's very good.
It's a fantastic target for any sort of equipment or auras that could just boost it, or counters to boost its power and toughness.
I wonder why, like, thematically, why does it have vigilance?
I don't know.
Doesn't really seem
Doesn't
like it has it for a reason. I feel like most of the keywords have been given to a creature for a reason, if that makes sense. This one just kind of has it, which is fine.
I guess it can attack, and then what if it turns a creature into a 2/2? It can still block it.
Because it's the Beast Binder. Okay, that makes
Yeah,
some sense. Okay,
it's about all I got.
that's actually not bad. Rating wise, it's a little tough, but I don't want to spend too much time on these. 7. It feels powerful, but it doesn't feel like it's winning any games.
I think it's a 7. I just there seems to be a lot you can do with this card. I'm not entirely sure all of what that is, but it does a lot.
All right, next up.
Bellowing Crier, 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Frog Advisor. When this enters, draw a card and discard a card. So ETB loot.
I like it. And frogs are relevant, right, in Simic?
Frogs are the Simic creature type. Yep. The last one was a rat, which is the Dimir creature pair.
Also, forage, when you loot away a card, forage will have some extra value here. So it's going to just do a little bit more than it looks like face value, just because it fits a bunch of themes and archetypes. Nothing special. I'm going to say that this is like a 4.
I think it's a 4 if you happen to be in Simic, just because what Simic is trying to do is reuse ETBs by flickering or bouncing things. Getting to do this multiple times could be nice. I mean, hopefully you've got a more powerful thing to do, but this isn't bad.
Yeah, I agree. I think most cards will always get like a 1 to 2 point jump in the one specific archetype. And this set, unlike most sets, is so much more archetype specific. So I feel like it's just more consistently +1 in 1 out of 10 of the color pairs.
Sure.
All right, next up we have Calamitous Tide, 6 mana for a sorcery. Return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card. A little expensive, but if the format is slow enough, this is a pretty powerful ability. Good tempo, good card draw. But again, pretty expensive. So I feel like I'm not going to run this a lot. 4.
Yeah, it is pricey. 4 seems right. Yeah, I think 4 seems right.
Next up,
Daring Wave Rider, another 6 mana spell. 4 blue blue for a 4/4 Otter Wizard. When Daring Wave Rider enters, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with mana value 4 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would go to your graveyard, it goes to exile instead.
This seems very good, and otters are so freaking cute. Yeah, I think that you're getting your mana's worth here. This doesn't seem too expensive for a 4/4 that's also getting to trigger all of your other spell-oriented abilities, which there will be plenty in the Izzet deck. And even if you're not in Izzet, just casting your like cheap-ish removal or your cheap-ish bounce or whatever, just as your top-end card, I am fine with.
Agreed. This is one that nicely fits into a couple different archetypes because it fits into Izzet spells and Izzet honors, but also is another one of these great ETBs to reuse in Simic.
Yeah. Or yeah, just
and,
my
and even
Azorius.
and even Azorius, it can help. It's a big ground creature for help, and Dimir tries to fill the graveyard, and blue black has a lot of card draw and removal. That's great for this. So
Yeah. In my Azorius, just like this is your top end when you're done with your birds, and you get to cast the second like smite the monstrous equivalent right out of your graveyard for free. Good value. I'm here for it. Rating wise, I think this is solid. I doubt I'm cutting this. On average, it's on its low end, it's a 5. On its high end, I'm gonna give it a little bit better. I think I'm happy with this at a 6.
maybe it's 6.5, but yeah, right. The same
Okay.
general area.
Next up, we have the Dazzling Denial. 2 mana for counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. If you have a bird, they have to pay 4. In the bird deck I'm playing this, I'm not really playing it in anything else, so it kind of seems like a split rating.
A lot of the cards we've seen have had kind of bonuses if they were in the right one, but might be the first one where you just don't play it outside of that archetype.
2 is not enough. 4 is enough. 3 is like situational depending on the format. So yeah, this is specifically only for this is for the birds. So the average deck, I'm gonna say doesn't want this. I'm gonna say it's a 2.
2 works.
And then obviously bird deck, yay, 4.5 or 5.
It's still not amazing even in that deck.
Yep.
Dire Downdraft. 3 and a blue for an instant. It costs 1 less to cast if it targets an attacking or tapped creature. Target creature's owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library. I'm okay with this card.
It's a bounce spell that doesn't cost you a card, right? It's not like net negative value, which is nice.
It's like a Time Ebb, or we've seen this a few times, like Gone Missing.
Yeah. These are always fine. I tend to cut them a good chunk of the time, but they're always playable. So for me, these are like 5s.
I think it's still probably a 5. I like it a little more than usual because often you are trying to do this on an attacking or tap creature, and typically this is a 4-mana effect. So if you can get it for 3, maybe you can double spell or something like that.
All right, next up, Dowerport Mage. 2 mana for 1/3 frog wizard. Whenever one or more other creatures you control leave the battlefield without dying, draw a card. Your flickers, your bounces. Pay 2, tap, return another target creature you control to its owner's hand. That's a really cool enabler.
Pay 2, return a creature, draw a card.
Yeah. And then replay your ETB trigger. Make more offspring, make more whatevers. And it's like a decent rate for itself. It makes it so that way it's instant speed, plays around removal.
Yeah, it protects yourself.
Yeah. It doesn't protect itself, but if
No.
they have to remove this first, great. This card seems really strong. Yeah, I can't imagine just like having a 4/4 flyer they have to deal with. They have to spend removal on it, and you're just like, gotcha, draw a card, and then you lose a card, and I'm gonna replay it. Oh, so this is gonna put people in such a bind. I'm gonna say this is a 7.5. I'm pretty excited about this. I feel like it will put you into positions to win games.
Agreed. You need to untap with it, but it can snowball pretty quickly if they can't answer it.
And anytime my 2-drop demands an answer, that's a good freaking time.
Sure.
Next up,
7.5. Eddie Merc Crab, 7 mana, 5 blue blue for a 5/5 elemental crab with flash. Costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. Enters tapped if it's not your turn. And when it enters, tap up to 2 target creatures.
Whoa, that seems neat. This it won't be difficult for this just to be like 3 mana, or I'm sorry, 5 mana, 3 blue, and I think that's a decent rate for this.
Absolutely.
Even not in Is It spells.
Sure, by Dimir is filling its graveyard. You know, 1 or 2 spells is not really hard for any blue color pair. You don't get to eat something with this because it, out of nowhere, but you do get to at least lock a couple things down for a turn.
You get to surprise lock down their blockers and then eat their face.
But it's a pretty big crab. It can eat people's faces.
Absolutely. So rating wise, I think this card's really cool. I think this is going to see a good amount of play. Yeah, I'm happy enough with this card at a 6. I'm not cutting this out of most decks.
6 seems about right.
It might even be bigger. This might win the number of times you win the game after casting this might be higher than I think.
That's fair.
Next up, we have Eluge, the Shoreless Sea. 1 colorless blue, blue, blue for an elemental fish whose power and toughness are star, equal to the number of islands you control, which you're going to need a lot of because it's triple blue. When it enters or attacks, put a flood counter onto a target land. It's an island in addition to its other types for as long as it has a flood counter on it. The first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn cost a blue or a colorless less for each land you control the flood counter on it. I mean, it's not exciting.
So at its base, it's basically a 4/4. Because you need the 3 islands, assuming we don't have any non-typal lands. You need the 3 islands, and when it enters, you can put a flood counter on the other land if it's not an island.
Yeah.
So, and then it can grow each turn, basically. Then you hit your land drop.
Yeah. But you have to hit 3 island to cast it. And then the ability is like fine, but it's a lot of hoops. I'm not interested in blue, blue, blue for this ability. I mean, I'm sure I'll play it in a deck, but I don't care enough to try to make it work in most decks.
I agree. It's going to be very specific. The fact that the first spell you can remove colorless or colored blue costs, you can basically get a spell for free every turn.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That's intriguing, but that's probably too specific.
And I'm not saying this card is bad. In the deck that you play this in, it's going to be great. But like, it itself is not that great to make me be like, oh, we got to make this work.
I agree.
It's fine. I think this is like a 3. I'm not gonna pack one pick one this.
No, I don't. No, I'm not gonna pack one pick one in. I'm probably a little bit higher. Like I think it's playable, so I've got it as a 4.
Don't get me wrong. I think it is also playable in that deck, right? Like the average deck is just not interested in this. I think that the deck that you will want to play this in, it's probably like a 6. Because it just will be XX where X is lands eventually. So that's good. But, eh. Alright, next up.
Finch Formation. 2 and a blue for a 2/2 Bird Scout with Offspring 3. It has flying. And when this enters, target creature you control gains flying until end of turn.
So 6 mana, you can, like, leap 2 creatures?
Yep, 2 things get jumped. That's pretty good.
And it's also important to note that it's this 1/1 is not just a 1/1 rabbit. It is a 1/1 flyer, which is cute. It's nice.
I mean, it can jump the giant elemental fish. That sounds scary.
Yeah, it doesn't do a ton, like, initially. I don't know. It's got nothing that's lasting. 3 mana 2/2s just don't cut it anymore. This is okay. It's 2 birds for your bird deck, which is good. I'm going to say this is just a 5.
It almost feels like this might be better in your non-bird deck. to some degree because you're more bird deck doesn't feel like it's going to get into a lot of board stalls because you're going to have a lot of flyers. Whereas if you get into like a Simic deck with a bunch of big ground creatures that are staring at each other, being able to jump two of them late game sounds pretty nasty.
Normally, I would agree with you, but the bird deck specifically, all of the birds benefit you by having non-birds. So you will have sort of this like pretty high volume of non-flyers in the deck. So you need cards like this to sort of help get them over the finish line. But in every other situation with every other like creature type pairing, I would agree with you. But I do think you'll just draw the non-flying side of your deck a good amount of the time.
It could be. I guess since we've done white already, there just didn't seem to be anything big that I'm that thrilled about jumping.
Well, there's like things that put counters on them. Like I think the goal is that those things are giving you Valiant, which when they Valiant, they're pumping the team,
Well,
and
that's true.
your birds are giving them flying. So it feels sort of like this like build up sort of mechanic. Sorry, guys. Angry small mice is in the house. So yeah, I still think this is like a 5. I like a little bit longer lasting, and the stat line here is not impressive anymore. The Windrake days are gone.
That's definitely true. Five seems fine.
Next up,
Gossip's Talent. 1 and a blue for an enchantment class. Level 1, whenever a creature you control enters, surveil 1. Pay 1 and a blue to get to level 2. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. And then 4 more mana to get to level 3. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may exile it, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control.
So very ETB oriented. Very attacky oriented. Feels like a ninja card, which makes sense for rats. The rats were always the ninjas.
True. This card feels like it doesn't... It says a lot, but it doesn't feel like it does that much.
It's a very specific deck that wants to be flickering those things, ETBs. Is Offspring a cast or comes into the battlefield?
Cast. It's an additional cost.
You can't even like re-Offspring stuff. It's fine. There's a deck for this, but it's not the average deck. So 3.
I like it as 3 as well.
Next up, into the Flood Maw. 1 mana for an instant. You can gift a fish. You can return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. If a fish was promised, instead, return target non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So creature, and then if I give you a fish, it's any permanent. So like artifact, enchantment, whatever, planeswalker.
Is it like gifting somebody a fish, like giving like a gift to somebody you don't like? Like, here's something you now have to take care of.
Yeah, or it's like a dead fish, right? Like on their doorstep.
True.
Yeah, see, Dark Nose, dead fish. Boop. I don't think I'm all that interested in bouncing non-land permanents that much to give them a creature. Like, I'm sure it will come in handy. But, like, they just replay it, right? Like, in auras, enchantments, yada yada. It's good for, like, combat tricks, but I just don't think that the flexibility is strong enough here for me to be excited. I'm going to say this is a 4.
I agree with you on the flexibility. I just like the fact that this is 1 mana.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very playable. It's just, like, it says a lot for something that doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, I can get behind that. I think I'm just going to give it a 5 because I think I would probably give a 5 to just blue mana, bounce a creature at instant speed.
Nah.
It's so cheap.
I'm so spoiled now. They usually do something for me. They let me
for
draw
more,
a card.
For a lot more.
Yeah, but it's sort of like 1-drop creatures, right? Like they have to be impactful enough. Like at a certain point, I would rather just start at 2 and 3 mana. Just because it costs 1 doesn't make it necessarily worth playing.
No, but the fact that it's a little different than 1-drop creature because you can use this for 1 to trade up on mana and make them spend another 6.
But it's card disadvantage, right? Like you have to weigh all of that together. And again, I'm not saying this is not playable. It's just I would rather a higher impact bounce spell that did more for me, that cost more.
Yeah.
Next we have Kidnap. We have 2 blue for an enchant aura. You can gift a card, enchant creature. When Kidnap enters, you get to tap the enchant creature. If a gift was promised, then put 3 stun counters on it. You control the enchanted creature. Oh, I see. Okay. So if I gift you a card, I straight up control it. If I don't gift you a card, it has 3 stun counters and I control it. Okay. Okay. I'm fine with that. This seems swingable. It's a little less exciting than most of the like uncommon versions of steal your card enchantments that we see. But that's okay. Those are usually too expensive.
It's kind of the opposite of power creep here, right? I mean, in alpha, you saw control magic was just steal their thing for 4.
Yeah. It is a cute little fuzzy trash bandit, though. A little cute trash bandit.
With a very ominous looking mouse? Rat?
Yeah.
Rat, I guess,
Rat.
probably.
Rating wise, it's good, but I don't think it's as good. I'm gonna say it is. I'm gonna say it's a 7. I'm hesitant to underestimate the steal a creature mechanic because it has been so good in the past, but this is a significant drawback. And gifting a card it changes this ability from a 2-for-1 into a 1-for-1, right? Like it is taking a lot away from this card.
It is. It's more of either a 1-for-1 or kind of almost a lockdown enchantment.
Yeah.
More so than stealing it. You get it eventually, and if it's got some sort of static ability, then that changes things, or triggered ability that you care about. But
yeah,
I like it at 7 as well.
All right, next up.
Kitsa Otterball Elite. 1 in a blue for a 1/3 legendary otter wizard with vigilance and prowess. Tap to draw a card, then discard a card, so to loot. Pay 2, tap it to copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Activate only if Kitsa's power is 3 or greater.
So you can copy your 3rd spell, and you have to have an additional 2 mana to do it?
You can copy your 2nd spell because you can let the prowess trigger go off.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So hypothetically, like 6 mana for like 2/2-drop spells kind of deal. Assuming you can't put like a +1/+1 counter on this, in Azorius Birds, let's freaking go. Put a counter, your bird puts a counter on your non-flyer, and then like, yay! So there will be lots of situations where you're pretty happy, or your Valiants are triggering, and then you're getting to do more things here. It's a cute card. I like looting anytime I want with no additional cost. Prowess is always good threat of activation. Very well-rounded card, even if you don't have the spell stuff to sort of synergize with it. I'm never cutting this. 7.
No, I particularly like looting on a vigilant creature.
Yep. Well, it's a 1/3. I mean, I'm not like, let's go to combat, baby. So like, I agree that's nice, but it's also not like I don't feel like I'm getting away with anything.
No, but it's a 1/3 with prowess, so it doesn't always mean they can just willy-nilly block it either.
Yeah, it's fair. 7?
7 seems good.
Obviously, huge upswing when you're in Is It Otters. Next up, we have the Night Fisher, 5 mana for a 4/5 flyer. Whenever another non-token bird you control enters, you get to create a 1/1 blue fish creature token. This is nice because it is an enabler for the bird deck that will also make non-flyers that your other birds can latch onto and give benefits to. So if you happen to be in a situation where you drew all the birds but not the non-birds, then you still get them, which is cool.
I'm interested. The more we're seeing this, I'm really interested in how this archetype works because I'm just becoming more and more unimpressed with it.
Really, I am like, oh, it's very well supported. I'm pretty happy.
It does seem well supported, but it doesn't seem like it does anything I want to do.
But it's because it involves creatures, Yanks.
I've got a 1/1. Great, I can jump my 1/1. Like, woo.
They're free 1/1s. What is wrong with you?
Like, I mean, don't get me, it's not a criticism of this card. This card is good. Like, it is a free 1/1. It's more just on the archetype in general. It just doesn't feel that exciting.
I can't wait for you to lose to it. Rating-wise...
I'll lose to it all the time, I'm sure.
Rating-wise, what is this? This is like... I feel like any blue deck, even if you're not in Azorius Birds, is going to have enough birds that you're going to get some value out of this. It's good stats on its own. It's better than filler. I'm fairly happy with this at a 6.
Agreed. It's a good card. 6.
Light Shell Duo, 4 mana for a rat otter. It's a 3/4 with prowess, and when it enters, you get to surveil 2. So you're gonna fuel your graveyard for the decks that need it. Spells, prowess, decent stat line. That's all right.
Yeah, it's the most blatant of here. Fit in 2 archetypes. I'll give you 2 creature types and 1 ability from each of them.
Fair, fair. What are you thinking rating wise?
It's like a 5. That's fine.
Yeah, I like it as 5 as well. Next up. Oh, look at his little stabby stab.
I feel like I should be concerned about how excited you get about animals with knives.
Stabby stab.
Long River Lurker. 2 and a blue for a 2/3 Frog Scout with Ward 1. Other frogs you control have Ward 1. When this enters, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Whenever that creature deals combat damage this turn, you may exile it. If you do, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control.
Okay.
So ETB, you get a free attack with something.
Yeah.
And then you can blink it or flicker it, or actually no, just blink it if it's got an ETB. That's decent.
Yeah, and the other frogs having Ward 1 is a not 0 value because there is a specific frog archetype. Even if you're not in the full-blown Simic, half your decks will presumably be, not half of your deck will presumably have access to frogs, no matter your color pairing. It's an okay rated creature on its own with Ward 1. Nothing exciting, but I'm going to say it's like a 4 in the average deck. I'll probably cut it in most, but it'll see some play.
I feel like I'm instinctively just wanting to downgrade every frog card because Simic is always so bad.
That's fair.
This card does seem fine though. I think 4 is probably right.
All right, next up we have
Long Rivers.
Go ahead.
Good.
No, you.
No.
Fine. Long Rivers Pull. 2 mana for a gift a card. Counter target creature spell. If a card was promised, instead counter target spell. Huh. Why is Essence Capture worse? I mean, it's more flexible, but you don't get a +1/+1 counter, but you gotta give them a card. I don't know. It's got some flexibility. Yeah, it's fine.
I think it's fine just because you're going to counter target creature spell most of the time with this anyway.
Yeah, but then I want my +1/+1 counter.
Well, I don't have any creatures to put it on, so I don't care about that.
Fair. I think this is just a 4 for me. I like the flexibility. It'll probably see some play, but I'll cut it whenever I am, looking for cuts.
I mostly agree. I think this is one card, and counter spells usually do that will play up and sealed, especially in Play Booster World Sealed, where people have 37 rares.
Fair. All right, next up.
Mind Spiral. 4 and a blue for a sorcery with Gift a Tapped Fish. Target player draws 3 cards. If the gift was promised, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it.
I like that. So we've seen a fair amount of these draw 3 for 5, which is fine. For 1 fish, I get to tap down your dragon with a stun counter. That seems like an excellent rate. That is a gift I'm far more happy with. It's kind of a one-of. This card is like a cuttable card more often than not, but the flexibility and the tempo here is pretty nice.
We haven't really seen any better card draw yet. We're at least halfway through blue, so that alone will give it a little bit of bonus.
I think this card is playable. It's like a 5.
5 seems right. I do like the art with the ghostly fish that you're giving.
I like the oh, I didn't even see. Do you see like the rat is eating the fish and the fish?
Yep.
All I noticed was him like mesmerizing you.
With a snail shell.
Yeah. Next up we have the Mind Whisker. 3 mana for a 3/2 rat wizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1, and then with Threshold. I like that it activates itself. As long as there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, creatures your opponents control get +1/-0 That's a good static ability, honestly, and it makes your 3-drop sort of get better. It gives you hand selection, which in limited I sort of call pseudo card advantage, right? Because in the long game, you're not drawing the lands that your opponents are, so more cards. Yay. I think this card's good. I don't think I'm cutting this in any blue deck.
I feel like in limited, especially, like a static, an enchantment, or a static ability where your opponent's creatures get -1/-0 is one of the most underrated effects, because that just screws with them in combat so badly.
It's also going to fuel your forage. Like, it's doing a ton in this set. It's putting in the work, all in small incremental ways, but I feel like you will underestimate how much work this card will put in. I'm pretty happy to have this on my curve. I'm going to say that this is like a 6.
Just think about how scary it is to attack into somebody with this on board and 6 cards in their graveyard.
Also, he's got a stabby stab. Stabby stab, 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 stab. Stab, 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 stab.
Just waiting for all the pictures of Hammy with a knife.
Rating wise, you like it at a 6?
I like it as a 6.
All right.
Mockingbird. Blue X for a 1/1 bird bard. Say that 5 times fast. With flying. You may have Mockingbird enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield with a mana value less than or equal to the amount of mana spent to cast Mockingbird, except it's a bird in addition to its other types, and it has flying. So
That's
you get
cool.
any creature on the battlefield for 1 more mana than it costs,
And it gets flying. Yeah. And it's a bird for synergy, and yay. So yeah, I think this is a nice card. The fact that it doesn't say your creatures is good, and it scales really well. If you've got nothing to do and you need creatures, play it on turn 4 or 5.
And sorry, I'm wrong. It's not 1 more mana. It's the same amount of mana. Because it's not equal to X. It's the mana spent. Which includes the blue.
Whoa. Nice. Nice catch. Well done, Parks. Yeah, I think this card is great. I love the flexibility.
Also note that I can't imagine almost any scenario where this is good, but you can just play this for 1 as a 1/1 flyer.
Yeah. I'm going to say that this is a 7.5.
I like it as 7/5 as well.
I like the text. Laughing at you? No, I'm laughing as you. Okay, next up we have the Night Whirl Hermit. Ugh, sitting. My desk is too short. 3 mana for a 1/4 with Vigilance and Threshold as long as you have 7 or more cards, yada yada. It gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked. Ooh. I love that late game inevitability. It's got Vigilance. It blocks well in the early game. Yeah, I think this is pretty cool. Relevant creature type. I love that late game. I will say in the average blue deck, 1/4s I don't tend to do a lot with. I like to board them in when I'm against more aggressive decks. But because this is a rat, because it has the threshold ability, and I know I'm going to die to this a lot and have to use premium removal on their stupid 1/4. I think this card is solid. I think it's at 5.
Blue Black, which is the rat deck, is kind of a controlling archetype. It wants to get late game to get to those threshold bonuses, so this can be pretty annoying late. I like this at 5.5.
Okay, you're a little higher on it than me. Giant asking, just coming back, what do you think of the new set? Is it worth coming back? Anything new? Anything I should be aware of? Yeah, it's cute fuzzy animals. If any of you...
With knives.
Yes, with stabby knives. If any of you guys have a significant other that's a girl, this is your set. This is your shot. This is your one shot to get them into Magic, because they're going to love it. Give them a cute little bunny deck or whatever, and yeah, done. Okay, next up we've got Otter Ball Antics. 2 mana for a sorcery. Create a 1/1 blue and red otter creature token with prowess. If the spell was cast from anywhere other than your hand, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, and it has flashback. This is really cute. You get 2 prowess otters on a sorcery, which will also trigger all of your other otter shit. Even in your not otter decks, this is good value. You're going to have instant sorceries, non-creature spells in any deck. This is fantastic. 6.
I like the 6 too.
Next up,
Pearl of Wisdom. 2 and a blue for a sorcery that costs 1 less to cast if you control an otter. Draw 2 cards. So just divination plus.
Ottervation. Diva Otter. Couldn't get there. I tried. Yeah, I like Divination. It's a good card. I feel like it's gotten a little power crept, but we haven't seen good good card draw in this set. The format also seems a little smaller creature wise, and seems a lot slower than some of the crazy stuff we've been seeing. So yeah, I think Divination's here to stay in this set. I'm fine to play this. 6.
6, nothing complicated.
All right, next up. Plume Creed Escort. Oh, it's so cute. Have you guys ever seen the movie Epic? That's what this reminds me of. The soldiers all rode on hummingbirds. It was very cute. It's got an incredible voice cast. It's a what's the company that's got the little boy in the moon?
Searchlight? Not Searchlight. DreamWorks.
DreamWorks,
right?
yeah. So it's an old DreamWorks movie. It's so good. If you guys like it, it's got an all-star cast. It has like Beyonce. It's got Pitbull in it. It's got
You're not encouraging me to see this movie.
on the comedian Onzeed. I always say the streamer's name.
Onzeed Ansari.
Yes, he plays like a really funny snail. The main bad guy is the German guy from like Django Unchained and a bunch of other things. Anyway, it's very, very good. You will like it if you like animated cartoon movies. Anyway, and they ride on little hummingbirds. It's great. Sorry. I should keep reading the card. It's a 2/1 with flash and flying. When it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn. Yes! This is everything I want in the world in my bird decks. Let's go. This card is fantastic. 7.
Sure. Hexproof effect on a creature, so I don't have to waste a card on a combat trick. Sounds good to me.
Waltz is correct. Singularity.
Christoph Waltz.
Yep, I think that's correct. Yeah, the whole cast is insane here. I'm bad at names. I want you guys to know I'm not crazy. Josh Hutchinson is the main character. He's the guy from like Hunger Games. Yeah. Amanda Seyfield, Beyonce, Johnny Knoxville, Colin Farrell, Steven Tyler, Pitbull. Yeah, the cast is insane.
It's a good cast. When you lead with Beyonce and Pitbull as voice actors, I was pretty skeptical. But
well, so I remembered the Beyonce because I was like surprised, and then the Pitbull was very funny. He plays like a gangster frog that like breaks people's kneecaps. It's very funny.
Fair enough.
He like is rigging a race, and when someone he has a bunch of like thug toads that go to beat people up. It's very good. Sorry. 7. Do you like it at a 7?
Yes.
All right. Next up.
Portent of Calamity. Blue X for a sorcery. Reveal the top X cards of your library. For each card type, you may exile a card of that type from among them. Put the rest into your graveyard. You may cast the spell from among the exiled cards without paying its mana cost if you exiled 4 or more cards this way. Then put the rest of the exiled cards into your hand.
That's a lot of words. I kind of lost what we were doing.
So, Reveal X, basically you can then exile an artifact, a creature, a land, a sorcery, etc. And you get to play one for free if you hit 4 different types. And the rest go into your hand. The rest of the 1 per type that you exiled.
And if you only hit 2 or 3, they all just go in your hand?
Yeah.
So this is like probably draw 2? Like, give or take, draw 3?
It's pretty hard to hit. I mean, you could hit 4, but you're mostly likely going to hit land, creature, instant, or sorcery. You've got to hit both instant and sorcery to really get there.
Yeah. And I feel like X has to be pretty big to hit 3 even. Just like consistently, I mean, to be like fairly confident you're hitting 3. So this is fine. Sorcery speed, flexible, early, late, helps you dig for land if you need it, helps you dig into better, stronger permanents late in the game when you've got the excess mana. So certainly nothing to not play, but I don't think it's exciting. I'm going to say 6.5.
So, weirdly, for a blue card draw spell, I'm lower than you on this. I don't like this card a lot. I think it's still playable, but I've got it at like a 5.5. I mean, you can't always. The one nice thing is you can't always just cycle it for 2 mana if you absolutely need to.
Next up, Run Away Together. 2 mana, choose 2 target creatures controlled by different players. Those get returned to their owner's hand. Nice when you have. Now, nice that we no longer have an 0/4 that mills people to death. So yay. But there are some good ETB things here. Very excited to see it back, and I love this new art.
Was that when it was last printed?
I assume so. It's the last time it annoyed me to death. And made me want to quit a format forever and ever and ever.
That's fair. Yeah, I remember doing this as a reprint, and I knew it was an original Eldraine. I couldn't remember if it had been reprinted since then.
Yeah, that bastard Merfolk. Ugh. Rating wise, I think this was a good card. It's like, oh, you're gonna remove my card? Cool, I'll bounce it to my hand and like brick your dragon that you no longer have the mana to recast. Great. The tempo is good. Flexibility on ETBs. I think this card is rarely cut as a one of. I'm gonna say it's a 5.5.
I think it's a 5.5. I will say when I've played this card, the restriction that you have to have the 2 targets comes up more than you would think.
Yeah, it's true.
Still not enough to make the card unplayable, but you figure, there's always a target on each side. That's not always true.
Next up.
Season of Weaving. 6 mana, 4 blue for a mythic sorcery. Choose up to 5 paw prints worth of modes. You may choose the same mode more than once. 1 paw print, draw a card. 2 paw prints. Choose an artifact or creature you control. Create a token that's a copy of it. 3 paw prints. Return each non-land, non-token permanent to its owner's hand.
I think I'm going to make 2 copies and draw. Like, is my nut here.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice that you have the flexibility on an empty board to just draw 5.
Yeah.
But I agree that's probably a pretty common result. But I just want to look up, if I can, what order things resolve in.
It's a good question.
It doesn't really say in the...
I assume it's top to bottom. You probably declare them all and they resolve in order, is my assumption.
Yeah, it doesn't say in the release notes. I was hoping it would. I guess it's... Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter, because I was thinking, is there a way to make this return everything and then create a token? But either way, if it resolved first, the token gets swept up, and if it resolved second, there'd be nothing left to choose. So It doesn't matter either way.
All right. Rating wise, I think this is okay. I think it's less exciting than the white one, but still very playable. 7? We're certainly not cutting it. It's pretty flexible.
For sure. I think I've got it as 7 as well. I actually think I like it a little more than the white one.
Oh, interesting. Shore Up, 1 mana for an instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+1, gains hexproof till end of turn. You can also untap it. That's a cute combat trick. Very flexible. Does a lot for 1 mana. 6.
Oh, interesting. Sorry. Yes, it's I like this as a 6. I was just noticing something on the last card we just talked about, that you can actually make a token and then sweep everything up because it's non-token.
Ah, that makes sense. I was wondering why they would have those paired that way, but now it makes more sense. Great. Okay, next up.
Shoreline Looter. 1 and a blue for a 1/1 rat rogue. Can't be blocked. Threshold, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then discard a card unless 7 or more cards are in your graveyard.
This card's great. Look at his little friend. It's so cute.
I hate the way this card is templated.
Why?
Well, because threshold, when I see threshold, it makes me think I don't have to care about anything after it until I have 7 cards in my graveyard. But I do in
Ah,
this because the combat damage to a player part draw card still happens. It's just do you discard or not.
yeah, it makes sense because if it said like can't be blocked and then it said like deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, and then it said like threshold, don't like if it said draw a card, discard at the top, and then threshold, don't discard. I still feel like you need to resolve that top to bottom. So I agree, it's like buried
Um,
weirdly, but like I don't think there's a great way to do it.
I agree. I can't think of a clean way to do it either. It's just really awkward.
I like that there's consistency still in resolving top to bottom. So like, eh, eh. Rating wise, I like this card a lot actually. The looting is good. It's gonna enable some other things. It's a relevant creature type, and I'm gonna just die to this 1/1 a good amount of the time. +1/+1 counters. There's nothing preventing its like power from going up, right? Counters or equipment or something like that. So yeah, this is good clean living in my books. 6.5.
What's really nice is that a lot of times you get this like say it's looting. You do something until a condition is met, and it's not always going to be met. But in this case, it always eventually gets there because it feeds itself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like it at 6.5.
All right, next up, we have the Sky Skipper Duo. 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer. Whenever Sky Skipper Duo enters, exile up to one other creature you control, return to the battlefield under its controller's end step. So flicker, it's not flash like some of the other ones. So you're looking really at ATBs here, or like auras that are locking it down, or something along those lines. It's fine. It's not exciting, but it's a bird and it's a frog. Relevant creature types. 4.
4 seems good. It'll play in both those decks, so that's nice.
Awesome. Next up,
Spellgyre. 2 blue, 4 mana for an instant. Choose one. Counter target spell, or surveil 2, then draw 2. Count me in on this card. The
yeah, the
best thing, the thing that
flexibility
makes
is nice.
yeah, the thing that makes counter spells better is having other instant speed things to do. So you're not hurt if you kept your mana up. But here you get them both on the same card.
Yeah. What do you think rating wise?
I'm never cutting the first one of these. Might probably be happy to play 2. Like a 6.
Yeah, I'm a little lower. I'm going to say 5 just because it's a little pricey. Flexibility is good. I'm not going to cut one, but it's not like a thing that I feel like if I don't have it in a deck, I'm missing something. So I'm a little lower. All right, before we keep going with our set review, we have a quick sponsor I want to shout out for you guys. It's my brand new chair. We are now officially sponsored by Anthros. I'm going to pull this up for you guys real quick. I have 5 of these chairs now. I got 1 for my office and 4 for decked out. So this will be the new ones that you see me using. If you guys have been around for a little while, you know that I had a pretty major fall down the stairs last year and have been suffering from upper back and lower neck pain for a year. So much so that like I still can't sleep. I'm on and off muscle relaxers, so on and so forth. And so Anthros is a chair developed by physical therapists to help fix your posture, your sitting position, and to help get your entire body lined up to a way where when you're spending a lot of time in your chair like I do, it's a lot more comfortable and it's relieving a lot of that pain that I have. I met them and tried them out at DreamHack Dallas this past year and fell in love. The seat is wider. It takes all of the pressure off of your butt and helps with your posture because it has, instead of one of those crappy pillows for your like lower back, it's got this pelvic support that pushes your pelvis forward and keeps your entire body aligned. Anyway, so that's the chair that I've got. They've got a bunch of different colors. I'll be showing them off on Decked Out soon. I've got, I picked all the leather ones, and then the backs here, I have this sort of circuit one. See if I can show you. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, and if you guys are interested in checking it out for yourself, if you guys click the link, it just lets them know I sent you, and it also gives you guys $200 off if you decide to use it. But even if you're not in the market for a new chair, I highly encourage you to check it out because it does support the channel by just letting them know I sent you and that they should continue supporting my butt, literally. Thanks, guys. All right, back to the set review. Whee! When you come visit next week, Yanks, you're gonna have to come sit in this chair so that way you can give people a non-sponsored account of it.
Definitely.
Put your butt in it. You see how good it feels. Okay, next up we have the Splash Lasher, 4 mana for a 3/3 with Offspring. It's a frog wizard. When it enters the battlefield, tap up to 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it. And you can do that twice if you pay 6. That's good tempo. I'm into that.
This is giving me, it's not nearly as powerful, but like, if you have a way to return this to your hand, it's giving me old school, like, capsize lock vibes. 6 mana, just lock their stuff down over and over again.
I've been impressed with the stun counters. The tempo in these things have been quite powerful. I think that this is a card I'm not likely cutting. 6.
Agreed, 6.
All right.
Splash Portal. Blue for a sorcery. Exile target creature you control. Then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. If that creature is a bird, frog, otter, or rat, draw a card.
1 mana.
It's a card that feels like it belongs in the frog deck, but it fits in... It replaces itself in any blue deck.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like, the frog is the shaman. He doesn't really care about, like, what it's doing. But why is this a sorcery? I want to do this in response to removal to, like, really get my value. Right now, it's a 1 mana, like, ETB enabler. I'm not here for this card. I think it's like a 2.
I'm a little higher on it, because it's a 1 mana ETB enabler that doesn't cost a card. So I think I'm at, like, a 4.
Boo. All right. Next up, Storm Chaser's Talent, 1 mana. When it enters, you're going to create a 1/1 blue and red otter token with prowess. And wait, for 1 mana? That's it? You can just stop there. I'm fine. I'm playing this. What is happening? For 4 more mana, when this becomes level 2, return target instant or sorcery card from graveyard to your hand. Okay. For level 3, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create another otter with prowess. Holy shit, this is game winning.
It is. That's a lot of mana to get there.
Yeah, but that's 1 mana prowess otter.
The top part is fantastic. That's 11 mana to get through level 3.
Yeah, but at each point you're getting your value's worth. It's like 3 cards. It's like a 3-for-1. Like, I agree, it's 11 mana, but 11 mana on 3 cards that are all doing 11 mana's worth of work, that seems fine. If, like, the first 2 were garbage and it was, like, 11 mana to get to here and that's the only time you were happy, like, kind of, I'd be in the same boat as you. But, like, right now, 1 mana, happy. 5 mana, happy. 11 mana, happiest. Like, great. I think this card is very good.
I think this card's good because I'm with you on I'd be playing this at 1 mana and probably 5. That last one I'm spending 6 to not do anything probably till the next turn. Hopefully. I'm not sure on that one, but it is still a good card either way.
8. Maybe? What do you think?
I like it like a 6.5.
Whoa, okay, that's one of our biggest discrepancies.
I guess I didn't hear what you said.
8.
Oh, okay. I must have cut out or something on my headset.
All right, next up.
Sugarcoat. 2 and a blue for a flash aura with enchant creature or food. Enchanted permanent is a colorless food artifact with 2 tap, sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life. It loses all other card types and abilities.
I don't understand.
Why is this can this enchant a food other than flavor reasons, I guess?
You're enchanting your food to turn your food into a food?
Okay, that's a good point, target player.
Oh,
It
yeah.
has to for rules reasons, yeah.
We have seen that before where there was a thing that it said creature or artifact because it turned it into an artifact. Wasn't there one that said turn it into a treasure? And it said the same phrasing in
I
like the
remember
D&D set, I think.
I remember the artifact one, but that one you could also legitimately want to hit other artifacts.
But I remember it not being super relevant, and the reason it was worded that way was for the fall off effect. Yeah, I think
That
that's
makes
right.
sense.
Good call, target player.
That makes sense.
Rating wise, I think that's okay. It's flash, which is nice. It's like blue's sort of premium removal, but you're still giving them a food. So, yeah, it's kind of a one for most of a one. So, 7.
I think it's a 7. Blue just doesn't get much removal, so you play what you can get.
All right, next up, a 1/3 for 2 mana with Threshold. You could pay 2, put a +1/+1 counter on this, and draw a card. Activate only if you have 7 or more cards. That's a great 2-drop that levels up so well, and it's a rat. Great. I like the Threshold ability. I'm a big Threshold fan. That's when I started. I started just before, like, between 6th and 7th, Odyssey, Invasion, like, around that world, and Threshold is sweet. My mono white deck had much Threshold.
I played a lot in that era as well. I missed the little tombstone in the top left corner.
Yeah. Rating wise,
reminding me that this card means something in the graveyard.
True. Rating
Or cares
wise,
about it.
what's the rating, Yanks?
I like this at like a 6.5.
I want to say 6.52, but like it is just so high, and games might be decided before you get to Threshold. Now there is Surveil and stuff like that. I feel like I'm so high on this ability that like I am going to overvalue it and not include the average of like when you just don't get there, or it's too slow, or you don't have the mana or whatever. But I'm gonna say it's a 6.
Yeah, I'm a little bit with you on that because I want to play games that go long, so
Yep.
I want Threshold to be good.
Yes, same.
Thundertrap Trainer, 2 mana for a 1 and a blue 1/2 Otter Wizard with Offspring 4. That's the most expensive Offspring cost we've seen so far. When this creature enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So that's like what, a quarter of your deck that can hit? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, in the Is It Otter deck, this is one of those cards that just doesn't translate super well outside of their archetype because there's tons of like creature instants and sorceries, right? Like, play it, make an otter with flashback, make another otter. So you're going to be hitting like half of your deck if most of your stuff is produced by instants and sorceries, or classes or what have you. I don't like this card for the average deck. I think this is specifically for that and that only, which is fine for some rares, right?
Agreed, because your average deck is 17 lands, 13 creatures.
Now that said, I'm probably not cutting this. I'm going to say it's like a 4. Like, look at the top 4 cards and find one. I don't think that's the hardest thing to do. Value-wise, with Offspring for the late game, I think it's like a 4.
I want to go slightly higher on it, only because the more I'm thinking about it, that the fact that it's a 2-drop that late game, if I could play it for 6 and do it twice, there's a pretty reasonable shot I'll at least hit 1.
Yeah.
So it does something later in the game as well.
Yep, I like that. I mean, I'm giving it a 4 for like the average, and then I think in the Otter deck, I'm very happy with this at like
Agreed.
a 7. I've seen some instants and sorceries and stuff that I'm pretty happy with that create creatures. So
if you're playing like a 8 to 10 creature deck and you've got 15 spells,
yeah.
Agreed.
Next up, Valley Floodcaller, 3 mana for a 2/2 with flash. You may cast non-creature spells as though they had flash, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, birds, frogs, and otters get +1/+1 till end of turn and untap them. The threat of activation on blocks on this is nuts.
Don't leave out the rats. They'll get you.
Oh, that's true. I kind of skimmed the middle part there a little bit. I think this card is very, very cool. We've seen cards that were like way worse. Like they're uncommons usually, but like the Battle Caller. Do you remember that? Like 1/3 bird or something that had like all your shit gets +1/+1 for sorceries and instants.
Yes. Yeah.
This is like untaps them. It flashes. It does so much stuff. This card is game winning. It just dies to a shock, so we can't go too high. But I would say this is an 8.
Agreed. The fact that it turns all your sorceries into instants that triggered us at instant speed is great. 8 seems pretty good.
It does buff itself. It doesn't say other. So that's nice.
True.
All right. Next up.
Waterspout Warden. 2 and a blue, 3 mana for a 3/2 frog soldier. Whenever this attacks, if another creature entered the battlefield under your control this turn, it gains flying until end of turn.
If another creature entered the battlefield. So, like, that's not hard. Sometimes this mechanic is, like, when do X give flying. Sometimes it's kind of hard to activate. This is not, especially in this set. I feel like creatures are heavily focused. Even in, like, the non-classical creature style decks, we're still very heavily focused on creature types. So, this is fine. It's a frog.
Agreed. It leads to a bit of a strange play pattern, and that's incentivizing you to play your non-haste, non-impactful creatures pre-combat.
Which on Arena yeah. I do anyway, because I'm lazy. So yay! Rating-wise...
Should not be encouraging this, Wizards.
4? It's nothing special.
4. Agreed.
Okay, nice. Next up, Wishing Well. 4 mana for an artifact. You can put a coin counter onto the Wishing Well. Cute. When you do, you may cast target instant or sorcery spell with mana value equal to the number of coin counters. Without paying its mana cost. If you do, it would be put into a graveyard. Exile it instead. Only the spelliest of spell decks, right? Like, You have to hit 2 spells to be pretty happy, and it takes a while, and you might need a certain spell at a certain time, and you can't quite get there. This is a lot of mana to do nothing for a couple of turns.
Agreed. It can, in the magical Christmas land scenario, it can generate a lot of value, giving a bunch of a number of your spells flashback, basically.
In the Otter deck, like when you have your creatures being generated by instants and sorceries, like the 2 mana make an Otter. You know what I mean?
The fact that it's equal to and not equal to or less than makes it rough, because you have to also get the spells in the yard in the right order at the right time.
But equal to or less than would be nuts, because then you could just
Agreed.
You could just keep going up, and just get a spell every turn no matter what spell you hit. That would be too busted. I would be upset. This card is fine, but it's kind of a split rating. If it's not the Otters, I'm not playing this. I'm going to say this is like a 1 and a 5.
Agreed.
All right. That is the end of blue, guys. Yanks, are you happy with your favorite color?
Not as much card draws I think I would like, but this looks good enough. I like the threshold stuff. Like I said earlier, I'm pretty down on blue-white.
I am high on blue-white, but I am not high on the frogs. Like, the frogs did not seem good.
But I don't expect to be high on that because it's Simic, and Simic is always terrible.
But I do think the birds, are going to be very, very good. I was very happy with what I saw in this set. Chat, viewers on YouTube, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you guys check out the other videos. Most of them should all be out by now. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of Bloomburrow and what cards you think we were right or wrong about. And most importantly, please subscribe and like the video, because that helps us make so much more of these. And don't forget to click the link down below in the description to that Anthros sponsorship, so that way they know I sent you, and so that way they continue to sponsor our channel. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time for what? Black?
Yep.
Bye.